We're all good to go? All right, perfect. All right, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. For those who haven't been here before, my name is Vanessa McMullen, and I am the supervisor at North Shore Child and Family Guidance Center. I work in an early childhood program where we see children and young families and do outpatient mental health services and address pretty much anything that affects young children. And the focus of the series, this is our third meeting, has been on promoting social, emotional, and behavioral health for our young children. So for those of you who were here last month, we talked about developing a sense of resiliency and helping children to problem solve, the value in making mistakes, understanding that it's more about the process with young children rather than the end game, taking the, allowing the time to foster creativity and maybe take the messy route, and really all of the value in that and what it builds for young children, the lessons that we want them to get from it and then move forward. So, one of the things that we've also talked about in trying to implement those things is the reality of the current world. We talked about being busy. We talked about everyone's schedules, that there's just a lot of pressure to, make everything happen and to, give our kids whatever advantages we can. So, that's a great mentality, but sometimes what we wind up doing is doing the opposite. By putting a lot of pressures on kids, we wind up creating more stress for them. So that's really why the thought of today was trying to figure out how to step back and focus on letting kids be kids and taking some of the pressure off. So one of the reasons that I think some of these pressures seem to get out of hand is due to societal expectations and the pressures that are coming in from outside sources. And, the idea of having the best and being the best is something that has become a very big part of our culture. And everyone is really focused on getting ahead. And, that kind of goes back to the idea that there's really not a lot of tolerance for creativity and even mediocrity in a lot of ways. So the idea that maybe getting a B or not making the starting team is a lot of times seen as a failure. And, it's a really harsh expectation. I know there's a lot of kind of mindset now about, everyone getting participation ribbons and, valuing all of that stuff. And that's all very important because, the idea that having the best, and there's always going to be someone that's faster, that's smarter, that's a little bit better at something. It's important to really foster a child's sense of capability, but also understand that the idea is not perfection. They don't have to be the best to be really good at something. And a lot of times to value the effort that they put in, to say, you know what, you worked really hard. I'm sorry that you didn't make the starting team, or I'm sorry that you didn't get the role you wanted in the play. It comes back to validating those feelings. We talk a lot about validating feelings and letting kids know that it's okay to be disappointed. As a parent, you may be disappointed in the outcome, that maybe they didn't do as well as you had wanted, but a lot of times kids are disappointed too. So really just think it's okay to be disappointed. I know you worked hard. What can we do better next time? Maybe it's practicing more in the backyard or, giving them the chance to go out and try a different interest. Those are all really great options to support your child in that process. It's, we want to really, again, portray that, it's okay to sort of be in the middle with things, that not everything is always going to be, the best or the fastest or the brightest. And, there's a lot of pressure. And again, it's coming from society. And I think we're noticing that a lot of times with changes in curriculum, there's a lot more pressure to be focusing on math and, ELA and, reading and things like that, because the concern is that the kids who don't get this exposure, that they're not going to be as prepared to compete with other kids who are starting with these things really very early. And a lot of times the pressures that we feel are not even just about how the kids are doing currently. There's such a pressure thinking so far down the line about high school and college. I mean, I work with young children, and the thought is, how is this going to, impact their high school applications? Or it's all about getting most well-rounded, being most well-rounded, but not because that's the best option for the child that's in front of you, because it's about how is this going to set my child up for the most success. So really trying to just, again, be much more focused on the present and how that could benefit your child right now, because this mentality is a
you guys don't mind it.
not at all. See, that's
I really want to be here.
Yes. No, creativity. We love it with our little cup. So, the reason I bring this up is because a lot of times this mentality is really leading to kids who are overworked, overscheduled, and then as a result get very overwhelmed. Understanding that kids at really any age need downtime. That's a very valuable gift. So if we think about what we're asking from kids on a daily basis, it's getting up, it's going to school, it's following a routine, listening, learning, being, a good listener, social, all, over the course of many hours during the day, which is okay because there's value in those skills as well. They need to learn how to function in the classroom, how to function in a different environment. As kids get older, they have to come home, they have homework to do. Do the kids have homework this young? Okay.
Oh, I have a third.
Okay. Yeah. And that's actually one of the biggest stresses that I hear from families is homework time. It's just, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of planning. It's not easy work, but it's important because, again, the teachers have a job to do. Their job is to set your children up for, giving them the best education and making sure they learn everything that they need to learn. So we get that they have homework, but after a full day to come home and do homework, it's a lot. So, when you sort of then sprinkle in all of the activities that a lot of times kids are involved in, it's busy. We have kids that either are involved in, I think we talked a little bit about this last time, maybe one activity that's like multiple days, like if it's soccer, they've got practice twice a week, a game on the weekends, clinic, travel team, or they've got different things. They go to a music class and a religious education class and a sport and gymnastics. And, this covers 4, maybe sometimes even 5 days out of the week. And if you've got multiple kids, it's, you bring this one here, I'm going to bring this one. All right, then we'll swap. And, kids are doing homework in the car. It gets a little bit chaotic. And when you try to incorporate more typical things like letting your children have a play date, there's just no time for that. And, what's happening is, like I said, these kids are getting overscheduled. And some kids can say, I'm tired and I don't want to go to this, or, I just want to relax. Well, other kids really don't have that capability, and they start to show it more through their behaviors. And I know, again, we talked a little bit about sometimes kids' motivation, if they don't want to go to soccer. Why do we think that is? Could this be a reason? Maybe. Could it be that they just don't like soccer? Fine. Could it be that they're not happy with their coach or someone on the team? I mean, they're all reasonable options, but this is just something to look at, because kids really need just some downtime to relax. And what's happening is it also is teaching them what to do with unstructured time. Kids don't know. I mean, if they've got sometimes an hour, they're like, I'm bored. Or school breaks, by day 1 or day 2, it's like, I'm bored, I don't have anything to do. And it's like, what do you mean you have nothing to do? Like, they don't know what to do when they're told to just, you have some time in front of you. So, it's important to they're going to need some help with this at first. They're going to really need some direction or structure about how to use their unstructured time. Things like picking up some art supplies and doing a craft, or a lot of time for kids, it doesn't even occur to them to like go outside and do something fun. It's just they'd rather stay in and lay around, and we'll get to technology in a moment because it certainly plays into all of this. One of the things that I like to recommend sometimes to families is, before a child can complain that they're bored, you can come up with like a list, and it could have like maybe 5 things on it. And it could be, one of them could be a chore, one of them could be something helpful. It could be draw, read a book, color, play a board game. Good morning. And that before the child can come to you for help and say that they're bored and they have nothing to do, they've got to do at least 2 things on the chart. So, all right, well, did you try to read a book, or did you, try to go around and jump around outside? Okay, let's come up with something else to do. But there's just that automatic, help me, I don't know what to do. And we sort of try to figure out how to do it for them instead of just help encouraging them to try to figure out how to do it on their own. So as this relates to technology, which I know is for a lot of kids what they choose to do or what they want to do, and if given the opportunity, they will do it all day, especially if they have nothing else going on. Screens and things like that, I think, are really fine, as long as it's used in moderation. If your kid's working hard all day and you know them and they need to come home and get a half an hour screen time before they sit down and do homework, if you know that they could take that short time, turn the screen off, and then do what they need to do, then that's an okay plan. If you know your kid is not going to want to turn that screen off, sometimes it's best to just maybe have a snack, do the homework, and then maybe reward them with a little bit of screen time at the end. It's okay to have that in as a little bit of the day. Usually I encourage families to sort of set a maximum for the day, after an hour, and maybe that includes TV time as well. Weekends can be a little bit different, but during the week, again, we're talking about running all over the place, coming home, eating dinner, showers, homework, bedtime. I mean, there's not really much time left in there. But, what's happening is sometimes kids are watching their screens, phones, tablets, TV for hours on end. And then what happens is it becomes a problem to try to take it back. They don't want to do anything else. And it's easier to sort of give more in small doses as opposed to take it back, because then that's when you're going to most likely be met with more resistance. But it's really important to teach kids now, or to start to impose those boundaries now, because what's happening as kids get older, you're really starting to look at it, and it's interfering with children's ability to to socialize, to listen, to engage in activities. These are kids who don't want to do anything because it's interfering with their screen time. They don't want to turn off their iPad and go to dance, which they used to love doing dance, but now they just kind of want to sit and loaf. As kids get older, it's leading to problems like not wanting to go to school, kids who are up all night on their tablets and then are too tired to go to school in the morning. So it's really becoming a problem when it's left to go just awry. So it's, like I said, it's really important just to think about how to make it work for your child. We all use it in a way that works for us. I have a toddler, and sometimes I just have to put on a show because I have to do something. It's real life. But when it's just on all day, it's also impacting a child's ability to focus, because they're always hearing noise in the background. So even if they're trying to read a book, if you've got a TV going on, it's always background noise, and when that's off, something seems wrong. So it's important to really help your child sit and focus on the things that are in front of them, which, in today's world, there's always multiple things going on. But in your home or, wherever you can, I would try to limit it and try to put some boundaries around it in an appropriate sort of way. Another reason or another benefit of sort of implementing these boundaries is, with technology, it's given everyone the message of instant gratification, that we want something, we pull it up, it's there, and we don't have to wait for it. And when we do have to wait, we get frustrated. So, this is really leading to difficulties with interpersonal relationships. So as adults, we see it too. I mean, if your Wi-Fi is not working, it's maddening. You're like, come on, it's uncomfortable to be disconnected. It's uncomfortable not to have access to the things that you want. But this is something that kids don't really need to get set up on that pattern. If you can just, focus on turning those things off, being present, and, letting them know that, sometimes we wait for things. And that's okay.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. It's an important message, because what's also happening is, we're very focused on our technology and the people, instead of the people that are in front of us. So if we think about how we see adults walking around, everyone's like this, or people are at a restaurant, you've got two people sitting across the table from each other and both of them are looking at their phones. There's really this lack of engagement for what's in front of, for the person that's in front of you. And, it's heading in a dangerous direction. I actually worked with a little girl recently who you know, she's a little bit older. She had a cell phone, and she was telling me that her and her friend were on a play date and they were playing checkers. And I was so happy. I'm like, oh, she's like, do you know how to play checkers? I'm like, yeah, of course. You know, and I was really happy to hear that. And it turns out they each had a checkers app downloaded on their phone, and they were sitting in the same room playing checkers over their phone. And she thought this was just fine. And I was, no, it's not fine, because how do you relate to people? You sit across the table from them, you make eye contact, you read facial cues. We're losing this ability to read the cues from the people that you're sitting with. And again, if you can start younger and just focus on having them be present and play these board games and just put the technology away and give kids the message that you're in front of me and you're what I'm paying attention to, that's really the most valuable thing. So encouraging kids to play with each other on these play dates. We have kids who might want to play a video game. You have two kids who are looking at the screen. Again, that's okay in a small amount. But these are kids who also are probably going to need a little bit of a push to go outside and ride bikes, or to, again, do a craft or bake something, do a project, build with Legos, anything that sort of fosters this cooperative play that technology and screens a lot of times just don't really promote that. So, So going back, just with establishing some rules around the technology. Sometimes there's this new point, it's called going dark, or blacking out, which is they're looking at how to make it family rules, so that it's not just telling kids like you need to put your iPad away, or you're not allowed to have your phone at dinner. It's modeling. So you know what, we're all going to put our phone away. There's no calls during dinner. There's no phones during dinner, or after 8 o'clock or after 7 o'clock, screens go away. There shouldn't be any technology or iPads or anything allowed in the bedroom, because that's, again, you want to kind of promote that as a nice relaxing time. And as kids get older, they have a tendency to wake back up and get on their screens. So just really trying to figure out how to make it work for your family, but how to model that that they have your attention. If you ask them about their day, they're going to know if you're listening, or if you're asking about the day and you're, typing on your phone and you're sort of half listening to the answer. I know a lot of times families get in the car and immediately the kids in the back seat, the earbuds go in, and, they're on their screens. So if you can make some rules to say, you know what, this is the time that we're going to talk, and I want to hear, can you tell me 2 fun things about your day, or can you tell me something about your day that didn't go so well? And really sit and listen and be present for the answer, because, again, we talked about families being very busy, but if you can make the most of that time that you have with them, and, being in the car is a little bit of a captive audience. So if you can, if you can, like I said, start to establish some rituals around, this is where we talk, or at dinner, everyone in the family needs to share one thing about their day, one thing that went great and one thing that went not so great. If it becomes a ritual, it's going to be easier, and it becomes an expectation, and it's a way that families can really check in and, engage with each other. And so building that time in that's already established as family time can be tremendously valuable. And then also trying to take it a little bit further, and maybe even once a week, try to give a little bit extra time that's not about an errand to run or an obligation or something that's sort of required. Just a little bit of extra time. It could be one-on-one if you've got multiple children. Sometimes kids really thrive in that, to say, this is a, Mommy John afternoon and you get to pick the game, or, I know that's not always practical because you've got a couple of kids, but all right, it's movie night. So we're going to take turns picking the movie, and we can make popcorn. We can play board games, allow children to pick the board games. We can build Legos. It doesn't need to be long. It can be even 20 minutes to say, all right, you know what, we've had a nice week. Why don't we just build something together? Or why don't, we've got some time before dinner. Why don't we pick an activity that we can do? And during that time to really, it's not the time to talk about chores or behaviors or stressful things, just really letting your kid kind of guide the moment. And if they want to talk about building a tall tower, then you talk about building a tall tower. And even to reflect on it after to say, that was really fun. Maybe we can try it again next weekend when we're home. I like when we play games together. Or can you teach me something? Holidays are coming up, maybe getting a new game that everyone can learn together as a family. Those are great little, activities that are going to promote, just working together and some teamwork. And, when kids find that they have this time, it has tendency to, over time, increase the lines of communication, because they'll know, I can sit and talk to mom. And even if, again, we start talking about something that really seems a little trivial, that's okay, because it'll get built upon. And, as we get older, and we're going to talk about this either next month or the month after, how to talk to kids about really tough things, either things that are happening in the world, or I know somebody had mentioned maybe wanting some information about how to talk to their kids about like death or, illness. If those lines of communication.
Thanks. That's okay.
Hello. So if you look at using this time with your young children as a foundation to, lay those tracks and open those lines, they'll be more likely to talk to you about things as they get older or things that are not going so well. So always looking at it as, maybe it's a 20-minute time that always can be spent doing something. I mean, our to-do lists, I'm sure, are a mile long, but it's really an investment in the kids' day and their time, and really setting up for, wonderful relationships, which, again, going back to last week, are the building blocks for resiliency and helping children learn how to navigate the world and be their best selves. So do you guys have any questions about anything that I presented today, or any other questions that I can answer? Yes?
You mentioned you're starting to see some long-term issues with screen time.
Mm-hmm.
I have younger kids, second grade and under, and I'm definitely monitor their screen time, and they don't have iPads and things like that.
Okay.
But I'm curious to see if there are really research long-term studies on this to sort of back, hey, no, don't do the screen time, because I'm wondering how it does really affect your relationships, your school, if you go into, not really having any hobbies or anything. Have there been like actual studies?
I haven't seen a lot of the studies. I think they're starting to look at it differently, because this is kind of the first generation where kids had access to this stuff younger, and now they're looking at how it impacts. My information comes mostly from just the work that I'm doing with families in the community. And, like I said, I have tendency to work with younger children, but the agency that I work for, we go all the way up to about 21. And a big problem for, the older kids is, we're seeing a tremendous amount of school refusals, kids who just don't want to go to school, kids with social problems, the bullying and the way that media and technology has impacted the bullying of children, where, you used to go into your home and you were, were cut off from the outside world, you were safe. Now kids are being bullied in their own rooms, and a lot of times parents don't even know, because, they're online, or there's these Snapchat. I mean, and because kids are young and they don't necessarily understand the implications of what they type or what they post or what they say,
what alarms me is that we keep saying this, like, we don't really think this is such a great idea because it's going to affect our children, and then we keep like giving more options. You know what I'm saying? The industry just keeps on just throwing it as something that's, and we know that it's not the best, but of course we have to do it in moderation. But it's really hard when that all these kids have cell phones. Everybody has iPads in the restaurant. And then your kids that you're trying not to have iPads are sitting next to a kid that has an iPad.
Right.
It's pervasive, and it's very difficult to stand strong, right? And of course,
well, that's really that societal pressure that we talked about. You don't want your kids to feel left out. If all of their friends have a new iPhone or an iPad, you want them to have that too. But I have to get more information. I just heard about it for the first time about a week ago. There's this movement from a lot of the tech companies, and Google is coming to mind specifically, where those companies are encouraging families to like stop the technology. I think it's something like I pledge. Yes.
I guess it's
Zuckerberg?
No, yeah, Mark Zuckerberg. They don't have their children were not permitted to have iPads or.
I think they're saying like before 8, there should be no access to
He did,
it.
he stopped his kids from
Stop all of
yeah.
them, like total blackout with them. But I do find it interesting what you're saying about not going to school and disengagement from socializing, because I've also been reading a lot about children having anxiety at a really young age, and being, it's just being identified more, and that in the older ages, it's like a failure to launch almost, like with these high school kids and college kids. They go to college and they have to come home because they haven't learned how to really deal with anything, and it stems from this anxiety that comes. They're now identifying at such a young age. There's a center in New York City that was developed. I don't know if you know what it is. Actually, it's so strange. Lena Dunham, whatever the girl is from Girls, who created Girls, has serious OCD, which I didn't know, and I came across this, I don't know if it's a TED Talk or somebody sent me about children and how she's trying to bring awareness to anxiety in early childhood and how it manifests, and the bullying and things. I just wonder how connected the screen time is. It's almost like which came first, the chicken or the egg. Screen time is making them maybe more anxious because they're not interacting, and then they don't know how to interact, and then they don't really know how to deal with life.
Well, I also feel like the kids are so busy, you give them a half an hour to, watch a show or whatever to relax, but you're not actually relaxing. Because then they're engaged in this like fast-moving Lego TV show where they're shooting people and stuff, and like, that's not relaxing. No. So they never actually got the relaxation time that they needed.
And then as a parent too, the problem of, okay, so you've now taken them to a sport, to pick them up from school, you take them to sport, you come home, you have half an hour to make dinner, but the kid also needs to relax. And so what are you supposed to do? Play checkers while while chopping, and just, and you've got other kids, you know what I mean? Like the reality of it's really hard. And I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'd love to just play checkers with my oldest child. Like she and I had so much fun when we do it, and we could totally do it before dinner, but then who's making dinner and how's it going to happen? And then you've got the other two pulling on you, and I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's important to try to have some realistic expectations about it. Even once a week is a lot, it's.
But I think
we're
it's
busy.
because once a week in their mind, a week is like a long time.
A week is a long time.
That's like
right. But even the weekends are busy. There's activities on the weekends. There's birthday parties. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Say no.
Saying no is, that's a great thing once in a while, and it gives kids the message that again, you don't have to do everything. You've got to prioritize a little bit, and
it's like you can't go to that games. So sorry.
I know.
And we're gonna get the checkers.
Right.
Yeah.
Between 3:30 and 3:45. I know it's. But you might have to get a little bit of a mindset about how to schedule it in advance. Because if you don't think about it, most of the time it's just going to fall by the wayside because you're going to have to run to the store or wherever else.
Yeah, what I was thinking now, there's a little girl that I know currently, she's only 4 years old, and her bodies are messed up already because it's too much screen time. And when the mom takes the iPad away from her, then she gets like little meltdowns because she's so.
Right.
So that's no good.
No, it's not. And we'll actually talk about, going forward behavior modification and how to manage kids' tantrums because it's certainly not easy. You don't want to sit and have it's easier just to give in, which is unfortunately how we get into a mess a lot of times where, all right, just take it. But that's why it's much easier to tolerate a 4-year-old meltdown than it is a 12 or a 16-year-old meltdown, which, if they don't, it kind of goes back to some other conversations that we've had. It's important to struggle. It's important to overcome frustration and learn that you don't always get your way. That is not how the world works. You've got to, you can be mad, you can get frustrated, but, you're not getting that iPad. And
when we used to live in the city and we were interviewing at preschools at this, at like one particular preschool that's very play-based, they said through the interview process, they're like, if one thing we can ever ask you, which I thought was really interesting, you let your children watch TV, never do it before school, because they were saying that it sets their mind up, like it starts their mind working the day in the wrong way, and they're not, they thought particularly in the morning before school was a really bad time for it, which I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
Because I used to let my kids watch a show before school we were dealing, and then I cut it out, and it's actually, it's like, you know, it's obviously easier to let them watch a show then.
Then it's more efficient, they're not sitting there like
Yeah.
this, right?
But I thought that was really interesting that they said that the way it's chemically setting off their brain, it was.
That is interesting.
See, now I'm like, so, I'm thinking TV's like harmless compared to, you know, TV's, oh, that's the least of my worries with TV, with all the other things that we have access to.
You mean with the iPad?
Yeah, versus I almost rather TV versus an iPad.
We don't have
situation.
iPads. Yeah, I feel like if you just, at one point we had one that we let them use it, and if you take it away, they forget about it.
Yeah, I don't have it, but I just know I'm thinking about what's on, right?
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's also hard because you're at a friend's houses.
Right.
Yeah, or like older cousins or
Yeah.
siblings. But you did say like for the family to sit down and watch a movie. So how is that different? Because you're sitting with them and then you can talk about the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's about, you know, cooperative skills. So to say, all right, well, what do we want to watch? I mean, the truth is that this is part of our culture. You know, even TV shows, kids, you know, a kid is going to need to know maybe about Legos, or, you know, it's part of, you know, how kids interact with each other. So if it's in small amounts, it's fine, you know, to watch a 2-hour movie on a Friday and make it like an event, like let's get into our PJs and let's make some popcorn. And all right, last week you picked the movie. Now it's, you know, your brother's turn to pick the movie, and we're going to watch, even if it's not what you want, to try to find some ways to impart some of these important skills in it. And, you know, try not to do it too late, because it's hard to, that's another important thought with technology and screens, is if you turn them off right before bed, the brain is still going, the brain is still processing everything. So you don't want to watch TV up until right before it's time to like put the lights out and go to bed. So even if you watched half a movie, you know, after dinner we watched for 45 minutes and we're going to continue next week, and what do we think is going to happen? It's, you know, it's all about how to implement it in a practical way.
How much time should there be between optimal time and screen time in bed?
I personally, I don't have any like real numbers on that, but from like an expert, you know, I would say probably at least a half an hour to an hour if you can allow that.
Mine's the dinner reward. It's like you get to watch a show if you actually sit down and eat.
Yeah, and
But they go
that's
straight to bed afterwards. So
Okay.
I'm thinking that's probably that time.
I mean, but if it seems to be working for them, that's okay. If it's separate from their sleep space, you know, so if you watch in the living room, you turn it off, and then they go and they brush their teeth and they do their nighttime routine, you know, that you're building in a little bit of a window. You know, you have kids who are laying in beds with their screens in front of them and they're falling asleep, or they're not falling asleep because they just keep going.
I think the same thing, I feel like it's a good reward, like, there's no TV unless your homework's done and you eat dinner.
Yeah.
And so it's a great reward, and it's an easy thing to take away if they're not doing what they need to do, so,
If you get bath
and then they shower, go to bed, it's fine, so.
Yeah, it is like half an hour until you brush your teeth.
Yeah.
In the bathroom. Read a story.
Yeah.
Corral them into bed.
Like half an hour would be good.
Yeah, it's about figuring out how to make it work. And these shows, even these half-hour shows, are closer to like 23 minutes. So you get to pick one show, you know, during the week, and then that's it. And, you know, during the weekend, maybe they can have a little more if it's, you know, something that they really enjoy doing. But like I said, they need a push to do other things. So crafts, or, you know, activities in the kitchen, or anything outside, a little nature adventure. I mean, anything that technology shouldn't just be the automatic thing. Like you wake up and, all right, let's just let's just watch TV for 2 hours. And then it's like, oh, all right, now we got to go somewhere. That shouldn't be the first line of defense whenever a child has any time. But reality is you've got to make it work for you. Parents have to get up and go places, and it is much easier just to put your child in front of the TV to watch a little show while you run around. It's just about being mindful about it, that it's not just automatic, but just to be mindful about how you're making it work for you and your family.
So on the TV note, like
I definitely have, we have limits. We try to do, no more than an hour a day during the week, but there are days where like I don't want him watching any TV. Like yesterday, what sometimes like frustrates me is like when I try to be super mom and like I'm like no TV and we're gonna go to the playground and then it just like ends horrifically. Like she like gets a bloody nose and we were like gonna go to the playground and have pizza and it was gonna be like no TV, do something really fun. And then I'm sitting there in the parking lot and she like my 2-year-old fell on top of her and she has like a bloody nose and like I had blood on my face and I was just like, oh my god. I feel like it's going to be so much easier to go home and just put on Dino Trucks for 40 minutes. Like
yes, it would have.
I'm like, am I just trying like too hard to? But then I'm like, maybe I should just be like, okay, but you know what? Like, this is what happens when you don't take the easy road. Like things aren't perfect. Kids get bloody noses. People fall. We had to change our dinner plans because I'm like, I can't go into the pizza store with my face. But like, okay, it's like in those moments, should you kind of like just give yourself a break? Because I'm like, it would be so much easier to just watch this on TV.
I mean, I have to say, I'm hearing so many great components of what you did.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better.
And I really hope it doesn't discourage you from trying to do it again.
Okay, good.
Because you're right, it happens. But when we talk, we talked last month about, that things get bumpy or things get messy or it takes a long time or things don't go smoothly. You're teaching kids how to overcome obstacles. So, all right, we had a plan. You modeled flexibility. It probably didn't feel like it, but all right. She got hurt. We're gonna get cleaned off. We're planning to do this. We're gonna go home. How to stay calm.
Not the 2-year-old's fault that she like gave the baby house. Like,
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Right. But I think your mentality is great. That there's probably not a lot of outdoor days left for the season, and let's try to soak up as much.
Let's take advantage of this.
Outside weather.
I'll bring everybody. We'll go to the playground.
Don't get discouraged based on that. I would definitely try to do it again because it's a great thing. It's a great thing, and it doesn't always go according to plan. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's hard though, I feel like technology is a part of it. But, we're thinking about like the over a pressured child, like it is, their schedules are crazy, but how do you say, you can't say no to these like sports. Like, totally.
Depends, right.
But, I mean, it's like, I guess every kid's different, so you just have to decide what's right for that child.
Yeah, I mean, that's
right for your family, and or like make these commitments, but say to a coach, we'll do this, but we're not going to play hockey in July or August, but like the rest of the time we'll play. But you can sort of set your own parameters. But it is just tricky these days when things are so over-programmed.
And it's hard because as kids get older, the expectation for these activities obviously grows as well.
Yeah.
And so if you have a child who loves hockey and you know that he's going to eventually want to be part of like a travel team, you want to set him up with going to the practices and getting the skills, but that's going to be a major commitment. And is something else going to have to fall by the wayside? Maybe the child likes music too, or art. So it's about striking a balance, or it's about trying to figure out how to help them prioritize what they really want to do. And
you see that I mean, we can't solve this here, but that's like the problem now. Like sports are year round. If he wants to prioritize, say, hockey, then you can't even go across because they're all year round. Like it's tricky.
right.
If you do both, people are like, oh God, you're trying to do both. Good luck to you.
Right. But that comes back to that pressure. Yeah. There's a lot of pressure to be involved and to be the best, and it trickles down. And if your kid can handle it, that's great. Some kids rise to the occasion and they manage, but that has tendency, it can build anxiety as they feel the need to be great at hockey and, go to religion classes, and then still they have tests to study for. I mean, it's figuring out what your expectations are, what works for your family to say,
like balancing with multiple kids, like
right.
making sure one of them isn't, doing everything and then the other two are being dragged. Yeah, that's tricky, I feel like.
It is.
Think about like
my parents when I was growing up, and I always wanted to be a swimmer. And I tried out for all the teams, and I wanted to be a swimmer. But they had to go to the swim class, or there's always at 5 o'clock in the morning. Right? I feel like in today's world, we would take our kids at 5 o'clock in the morning. My parents were like, sorry, we're not taking you at 5 o'clock in the morning. Did that destroy me? No, I'm fine. Like of course I wasn't a swimmer. I wasn't an Olympic swimmer, but it turned out okay for me. So like I think we're very hard on ourselves to make these
Keep up with
all this other thing, to keep our kids included and to try to be these athletes that we think they're going to be. But when I'm not sure what the right answer is, but like I always look at that as, she said no, I turned out okay. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. Now just try to keep that as a model for me in terms of like, if it's at 9 o'clock at night that I have to pick my kid up from the field when they're 7 or 3 or 9 or 10, that's just happening. I think that's a little bit tough. You know, they're not getting their right sleep, they're not eating, they're just like.
Yeah, I mean,
And then let them be kids and go in the backyard and play.
well, and that's why that stuff has tendency to fall by the wayside. It's, you know, everything, or what are we doing today? We're going here, we're going here, we're going here. All right, showers, bed, and then it's all, and that's why when kids have like an afternoon to themselves, what am I supposed to do? I'm bored. Tell me what to do. So just, you know, it's a little uncomfortable and it takes a while. Like you said, it's not going to be solved today. It's just about giving some information to start to think about things differently or to figure out how to, you know, make some small changes for your family that work best for you and for the kids. Okay. Any other questions? I have a couple. I have a couple of articles. Send them down. Start this. And again, if there's anything that you guys want me to cover in the future, I'm more than happy to try to find a way to build that into, you know, one of the topics, or, you know, feel free just to either ask me or you can mention it to Kelly.
Positive discipline.
That's coming up.
Is it like a whole section on positive discipline?
It's probably under the umbrella of more behavior modification and how to, you know, manage children's challenging behaviors.
That's a beautiful thing. Like,
Yeah. No, we.
I'm gonna take all your toys away.
I try to mix in some real life, you know, practicality, which is, again, everything can be wonderful and ideal, but when you have a kid who, you know, you've got to get in the car because you've got to go to work or go to school, get in the car. So yeah, well, we're going to talk about that. I don't know if that'll be next month or the month after. I don't know yet.
Thank you so much. It's really helpful. I think it's helpful that we're like not alone in this. Sometimes you feel like you're like in this abyss of.
Yes, this is what I spend pretty much all day talking about to parents. So I have, if anybody, like I said, ever needed to email me or had questions, I'm certainly available.
Is your email on there?
I have a card. You're welcome. Great. So hopefully I'll see you all in December, December 9th, I believe. It's a Thursday will be our next one, and I'll get to Kelly the topic, and she'll let you guys know. Thanks so much. Take care. We got the articles? Perfect. What's the matter? You did so good again.
No, she threw out all her garbage.
Oh, she made a lot of trips. That's funny.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good
See you in December.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Yeah.
Kelly.
I've been looking for like It's Walter, but I realized.
Thank you for that information, by the way. And what's your name?
Erin.
Erin. I am gonna look into it.
Yeah, it's just, I was just having a conversation with my friend.
It's kind of
She
makes
had
me
used
feel
it for
like
3 years with
Okay.
some children with special needs, and I was like, this is such a great, and it has a lot of this art, this author winner.
It's my book, it's about like.
She has a lot of role play books
Okay.
that show kids the appropriate stuff for kids with picture cues and
Okay.
speech bubbles and things.
Yeah, that seems very typical for dealing with child with developmental delays or autism that need that visual. Okay.
Yeah,
no, that sounds great.
Like, technology.
I know.
There's like these missing pieces.
Have to be careful because I tend to like get a little preachy on. It's just.
I'm very,
Turn it off.
I know. And now my daughter says to me today, like, I don't let her. My niece is doing, and do Snapchat, and I can't do that around her, she's 7. And then now she's like, but he's cool. So she's like, she found my old phone and started using it, and I go, oh, no, you can't use this, this is not your phone, like,
Right.
oh, but these kids have it, okay, but.
Right, and as I talk to parents, for a lot of them it becomes like a practical issue. These are kids that need, they're taking the bus on their own, and their parents need to be able to reach them. Or the late bus,
Right.
so I get that there's a level of. I see you.